Yes, Jyoti, we can start now.
Hello.
Yes, we can start now.
Okay. I think it's audible, right?
Yes, we can.
Krishna, actually, very less participants are there. Do you want to start, or shall we wait for another 5 more minutes?
No, we have we are live on Facebook as well, so there are participants waiting up
Okay.
there. So people will join
Okay.
as and when we go. Just
Okay.
that,
Okay.
yeah, please.
So I think we can start now. So, good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome each and every participant on behalf of Newberg Diagnostics and DKMS BMSD Foundation India. Two reputed organizations have joined hands together today to serve the society by creating awareness to all through this kind of webinars on Saturdays. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our prestigious partner, Newberg Diagnosis, for providing us this wonderful opportunity to address the common people. Newberg is the best in class laboratories from across India, UAE, South Africa, to provide the latest technology and techniques within the reach of developing countries. I'm really happy to know that they perform over 5,000 varieties of pathological investigations and aiming to prevent diseases at an early stage with most advanced technologies assisted by data science and artificial intelligence tools. As they are also into the hospital industry, I think they understand our cause and given the space to serve the blood cancer patients. Thank you very much, Krishna. Before getting into the presentation, I would like to introduce our panel guests. I'm Jyoti here, Deputy Manager of Donor Recruitment. We, being part of donor recruitment, we would approach companies, colleges, associations, etc., and recruit potential lifesavers all over India. Okay, so we have our colleague Rajlakshmi is also here, who is also Associate of Donor Recruitment, and I would like to introduce our transplant doctor, Mr. Joseph John, who is a professor and head of clinical hematology, hemato-oncology, and bone marrow transplant unit at Christian Medical College, Ludhiana, Punjab. He has finished his MBBS, MD, and DM also. I'm excited to know his interests are hemophilia care. So he is also head of the comprehensive care unit, which actively take part in teaching and training for other hemophilia centers in Punjab. Welcome, doctor. Next, I would like to welcome our prestigious stem cell donor, Mr. Suresh Verma, who is still studying at Christ College. Welcome, Suresh. So, I think now it's time to start our presentation. So, before starting, I would request each and everyone to mute your mics and please feel free to ask any questions in the chat box. My colleague Rajlakshmi is here. She would collate all the questions and we would answer all of them after the presentation. Okay, so I would like to start with by introducing our organization. Our organization DKMS BMST is a not for profit organization which is working to delete blood cancer and other blood related disorders. So these two NGOs, DKMS and BMST, join hands together and we have started our operations in India. Okay, so talking about BMST, BMST was founded in 1984. It is popularly known as Rotary TTK Blood Bank. It has been initially set up to provide blood banking services. Now they have expertise in tissue banking, organ transplantation, HLA typing, etc. So, talking about DKMS, DKMS is an international NGO who raise awareness about blood stem cell transplantation and registering the potential blood stem cell donors all over the world. Okay, so DKMS is founded in 1991 in Germany and it is founded by Dr. Peter Haaf after losing his wife to leukemia. So when he was searching for a potential match for his wife, there was no perfect match within the family and outside. So he started our organization, and now we have branches around the world in 7 countries like US, UK, Poland, India, Chile, and of course now in South Africa also. Okay, so now DKMS is a global leader in providing the life-saving stem cell transplantations to patients who are suffering from blood cancer. So the awareness is much more in other countries. That's how we are successful in recruiting more than 10 million potential lifesavers all over the world, and we have facilitated more than 85 stem cell transplantations worldwide. Okay, so talking about Indian scenario, we have officially started our operations in of April 2019, but still we have started our operation with the help of BMST from 2015 itself, and we have recruited around 42 potential lifesavers through 1,000 plus successful donor registrations which has been conducted in companies, colleges, associations, etc. As in India, the awareness is very, very less. We have facilitated 28 stem cell transplantations, thus providing second chance of life to these patients who are suffering from blood cancer. Okay, so you might be wondering what is blood cancer or what all the blood disorders and how we can cure these blood disorders. So we have our doctor John Joseph John here. So he will be explaining what is blood cancer, what are stem cells, and how stem cell transplantation can help these patients who are suffering. Okay, so over to you, doctor.
Thank you, Jyoti. And yeah, so I do understand that it is important to, important for you to have a concept of what is this blood cancer about. So imagine bone marrow as the factory for the production of the red colored fluid which is running through our body, and that red colored fluid is we call blood, and it has red blood cells, it has white blood cells, and the platelets. But when you see the blood, you will see only the red color, and that is why we say it is red blood. And red is because the iron it is rich in, and the iron is the one which carries it. Any problems related to these three cell lines where the factory is at a problem situation or a defective factory, that is when we call a blood disorder. Blood cancer is nothing but one of these mother cells which are supposed to produce the white blood cells is now dysfunctional, and it is producing terrorists from the group. And that is when all the blasts are coming out, which is not maturing into normal cells. And those are leukemic cells or blood cancer. Now, the mother of all cells is the stem cell, that's called the adult stem cell. This is totally different from the embryonic stem cell, the ethical questions we raise about doing research in embryonic stem cells. That is embryonic stem cell, this is an adult stem cell. Adult stem cell has the innate ability to become a red blood cell, white cell, or a platelet. So when we say a blood cancer or a leukemia or a lymphoma or a myeloma, that is because the stem cells have gone abnormal. Whatever mutation. So we have genes in it, we have 23 pairs of genes. Some part of the genes get abnormal or an acquired mutation or a complex additional mutation. Things get bad and we will never know what the cause is. And this can give rise to any of these cancers because of abnormal proliferation of cells. It is not controlled now. And it is not able to produce its normal function. So set aside the blood cancers because the stem cells are produced. And they were born, all of them were born normal stem cells, and subsequently it got corrupted. You have another set of disorders like thalassemia and sickle cell disease. You're born with a defective gene itself. Now, both of these situations, whether it is acquired or born with, the root is at the stem cell, what we call. So the best way to combat that is either we chemotherapy or we remove the stem cell and put it back. And that is where the whole concept of stem cell transplantation comes in. when we have to replace this abnormal cell. So many of you who are donating stem cells, yours is a normal stem cell. It is immortal. It does not die out. Is there are you able to hear me well?
No, sir. Actually, your voice is cracking in between.
Cracking, yeah.
Now it is clear. So now it is clear,
Okay,
sir.
so maybe in between it is a problem. So please alert me when the voice is not there,
Sure, sir.
because I
We'll do
will
that.
not.
Now it is much clear. Now it is crystal clear. Sir.
Yeah. So for all the others who have been listening, so blood cancer is a real problem in India. We need to replace the stem cells with a donor stem cell. That is why you and me have to pitch in to become a donor to transplant. I mean, make our stem cells available. This is like a blood donation, if you so to speak, or a platelet donation. You go to the blood bank, give your stem cells, and there is no operation on you at all. So this is called a peripheral blood stem cells. We can collect from either peripheral blood or the marrow, and these are the stem cells which are collected from your hand, maximum from the femur. So it is injected, one small injection will be given for about 5 days. Your stem counts will go up, and on the peripheral blood we can collect these stem cells. You don't have to worry about the stem cells being depleted. It will never go dry, because this is like an amrit, I would say. I mean, it is immortal. The more you give, the more it is produced. So all of those people who are watching this, I mean, you can ask Suresh, anything happened to Suresh after donating? He will tell you the answer. Nothing, no difference. In fact, you will feel better by giving life to somebody. Now, the reality is that only about 25% of the patients who are diagnosed with leukemia or any of these diseases where we require a transplant could potentially find a stem cell donor from the brother or a sister. Parents, very rarely we can get a match, less than 5, because half genes comes from the mother, half gene comes from the father. So you have only a 25% chance at one of your brother or a sister who's a match. Hence it becomes so important for all of us to be able to donate. Somebody might ask the question, what is it in there for me if I donate my stem cell? The answer is very simple. You are going to give your stem cells into a child or an adult who's going to live with your stem cells because of you. And your blood will be running in their body. If suppose you are a 50, 40-year-old person and donated stem cells to a 5-year-old kid, even after your life, somebody is going to live with your blood. Imagine that privilege. In fact, you must consider a privilege if you ever get a chance to donate the stem cells. In fact, I'm waiting for that golden opportunity to come by to donate stem cells. So it's important. You must celebrate if you can get to donate, and so much of satisfaction you can get out of doing something for others. And all of us are wired in such a way that we get, actually, if you look back and say, what is the happiest moment in your life, rather than a self-directed thing, it is when you have done something to somebody else and they have shown gratitude. So imagine this is a lifetime gratitude, which Suresh can go back and say, I have donated my stem cell to somebody I know or unknown. After 1 or 2 years, 2 years, I think you will be contacting that person, and so you will be a brother or a sister to that person forever. Giving stem cell donation is an easy procedure. You will get some injection, and then, as the cartoon shows, you are linked up to a machine, and the blood will go to the machine. Stem cells alone are removed and given back. You may have to maximum be on that chair for about 3 to 4 hours max. Yeah, any next slide, can you show me? So these are some of the procedures and the pictures which are there. I'm sure Suresh will tell you real, the first-hand information of what is it that you can go through while you lie there, and what is it going through your mind, and what was your experience. I'm sure Suresh has a lot to share. Over to Jyoti for continuing the discussion. Jyoti, your mic is mute. Mic is on mute. Jyoti, your mic is on mute.
Yeah. So can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So thank you very much, doctor, for giving a lot of inputs about stem cell transplantation and also blood cancer, etc. So now actually we have our donor, Mr. Suresh, who is with us, who has already come up as a match for a patient who is suffering from blood cancer, and he has donated his stem cells. And we would like to share our experience with our donor Suresh. Suresh, Suresh, can you hear me?
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah. Good evening, Suresh. So over to you now. So you can explain when did you register and when you have come up as a match and how was your experience, etc.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I registered in 2018. I remember it was July 6th or 7th, if I'm not wrong. And I thought first, initially, I thought it was a blood donation because I haven't done any blood donation till now. So it was my stem cell. So I registered and I got a match, and I got a call from the medical team from DKMS telling that I've been a match for a patient, and my patient needs my stem cell so that that patient can survive in future. So I was really scared in the initial time because this bone marrow stem cell was really out of my mind. And I Googled and I heard a lot of information about people who have already donated. And the medical team really made me comfortable. What is the procedure? What am I going to do? And what will happen if I give my stem cell? And the phrase which they told me was, I can save someone's life. And that made me feel really good. Like, what is more special than being a reason for someone's survival? So I went ahead with the procedure, and my donation was on 2019. I mean, last year, December 5th. So a week before the donation, I was given injection on my tummy, and that injection, they told me that I'll be having a slight headache and slight fever, and that's it, nothing else. And everything was fine. I used to go to college even taking that injection. My day was completely normal. Only on the day of donation, I was tired. And the next day again, I got into college and everything was fine. And the medical team told me that I am not supposed to lift any weight, like which is too heavy. And that's the only thing. I think we can remember the phrase which the medical team actually told, saving someone's life. What is more special than being a reason for someone's survival? So thinking that, I think we can do anything possible. So that will really make us feel happy that we are a reason for someone's survival. So that was one thing which motivated me. And the medical team completely made me, I was really comfortable. Even on the day of procedure, I was completely fine. And the next day I went to college and I was completely fine. Nothing to worry at all, mom. I think it is just like a blood donation, and the next day you'll be completely fine. Only on the day of procedure, I would suggest a rest, and next day you're fine to go. Yeah, this is my whole experience, mom.
Wow, excellent. I'm really happy to hear the each and every word from you. I think this would motivate more and more people to register. So I would like to explain about the need for stem cell registries in India. So before going into that topic, I would like to explain you all with a beautiful story. So here there is a small boy by name Mahir who is a genetic twin to this doctor. So Mr. Mahir was a very small boy and he was diagnosed with thalassemia major. And when his parents were searching for a perfect match, as doctor was explaining, there is only 25 percentage of chance of getting a match within the family because your sibling would be your perfect match. Okay, but Mahir was, unfortunately, he he was unable to get a perfect match within his family. So when they were searching for an unrelated match like you and me, there was not much awareness in India, and at that time there was no registries like us. So they have to search outside India. So Dr. Sita from Germany has come up as a match for this small boy, and she has donated her stem cells and saved the life of this small boy. So as doctor was explaining, this stem cell transplantation is based on your HLA match. Okay, so these HLAs are nothing but this HLAs is nothing but human leukocyte antigen, which is the identity of your white blood cells and total immune system. So as though Dr. Sita is from Germany, her ancestors are from India. That's why Dr. Sita has come up as a perfect match to Mahir, and she was able to give a second chance of life to Mahir. But unfortunately, if there is not too many Indians are there in the database, then it is very difficult to find a perfect match. That's why it's important to have a registries like us in India. As I was explaining, this HLA match is based on the ethnic groups, or it is more related to your origin and ethnicity. Okay, so for having a registry like us, there are two reasons behind this. Why it is important is, see, in order to reduce the cost of the treatment. See, if our stem cells has to travel from another country, you know that how much cost is involved, and also to increase the survival chances of the patients who are suffering. So the shocking news is, every year 40,000 Indians are dying because of blood cancer or any blood related disorders. So in order to increase the survival chances, if there is more number of people registered as a potential lifesaver, then there is a high chance of finding a match, and thus we can save the life. Okay, so as I was explaining to you, this HLAs are related to our ethnic groups. The actually in India, we are the third toughest in the whole world after South Africa and China, because for us every state is equal to a country, right? And we have more than 2000 ethnic groups, and that's why it is very difficult to find a perfect match within Indians. Excuse me. And you know that in the worldwide, the awareness is much more with all the other countries, and most of them have come forward to register themselves as a potential lifesaver. But India is underrepresented worldwide. That is, just we contribute to just 0.03 percentage of the total donors in the global stem cell registry. Okay, so I request each and every one who are who are eligible to register themselves as a potential lifesaver, please come forward and sign up as a potential lifesaver. Okay, so before signing up, there is an eligibility criteria. So you should be living in India, and you should be above 18 years, below 50 years of age. You should be above 50 kgs of weight, and you should not have registered with any other registries, because if you have registered with any other registries, it will become like a double entry, or you may be giving a false hope to the patient. That's why these eligibility criteria is very important. And you should not have any medical exclusions like heart disease, lung disease, diabetes, or any serious nervous problems. Then you can register yourself as a potential lifesaver. Okay, so the process which we follow in our DKMS BMST is, the step one is the registration process. Now, due to this pandemic situation, we are unable to come directly and talk to the potential lifesavers like you. So we have started doing online registration. Okay, so the online registration is the step one process. So you may not come up as a match immediately, because doctor was explaining to you, there are 25,000 known types of HLA. So it is very difficult to find a perfect match. Okay, so if you ever come up as a match, then only the step two process will happen, that is confirmatory typing, because a very small infection from us also may be disastrous to the patient. That's why DKMS do a master health checkup free of cost to you, and we never charge anything from the donor, and we always take care of the donor's health and safety. Okay, so after this master health checkup, if you are medically fit, then only you will be going for the procedure which doctor was explaining to you very clearly, that is peripheral blood stem cells method. This is same like the platelet donation. I hope you all might have heard about the platelet donation during the dengue season. The same method, there they are taking the platelets, here we are taking the stem cells. Only the difference is that. Okay, so with this process you can give a second chance of life to the patients who are suffering from blood cancer or any blood related disorders. So if anybody is interested to save a life, you can register today and give hope to countless number of patients who are on the verge of death. So the registration process is very, very simple. We have given our registration link here, that is dkmsbmst.org/register. Suppose if you log into this link, then you can land up into this page. So this one, first it checks the eligibility. So once if you are eligible and without any medical exclusions, then you can register yourself as a potential lifesaver. So we are not taking too many information from you. We are taking just the basic information like your height, weight, age, gender, and your current address, so that we can send the swabbing kit to your residential area. So please give your current address so that we can send our swabbing kit to your current location. Okay, so I request all of you to please select donor drive from this additional information. This is to understand that you are part of this webinar, or you are part of the Newberg Diagnostics webinar. Okay, so under this field, please select donor drive while registering yourself. Okay, so if you are registering, once you have clicked the register button, this data will be available with our database management team, and we will be sending you a kit. The kit will be sent through post. In this kit, we are giving you a welcome letter, and also whatever the information you have provided in the online link, that will be there as a consent form. So you can sign in that consent form, and then you have to do the buccal swabbing. So as I was telling to you, we have to do a HLA typing. For that, you have to give your sample. So what you have to do is, you have to just take the sample. We are giving you three sterilized cotton buds. Just you have to rub it inside your cheek walls, so that the loose tissues inside your mouth is collected. Okay, so there is a QR code both in the buccal swab envelope and also on the in the welcome letter. Okay, so you please scan the QR code. That will lead you to a video which explains to you how you have to do the buccal swabbing. Okay, so once you have finished the buccal swabbing, please drop the sample inside this buccal swab envelope, and please sign in the consent form. Keep both inside the business reply envelope, which is also given to you through this buccal swab kit. Okay, so you need not to pay anything. Please put the sample and also the consent form inside the business reply envelope, seal it, and put it in the nearby post box, so that we will receive the sample of yours as a part of registration. By doing all this, your registration process is done. So we are sending you the swab kit through the post, and within 2 to 3 weeks your registration registration process is done, and we will be sending you the donor card, which is the identity that you have registered with us. That will be given to you after your HLA typing is done. So once after your HLA typing is done, you will be available in the worldwide search, which can be accessed only by the transplant doctors like Joseph John. Okay, and once if you ever come up as a match, then only you will be actually going for the donation process, which doctor was explaining to you. Okay, so the challenge what now we are facing is, though many people are registering online, but they fail to give this swabs back to our office. So 35% of the people are not providing the samples back to our office. So I request all of you, if you are interested to register, please register online, and as a part of registration you have to do the buccal swabbing. It will not cost you anything, and it is completely sterile cotton buds. Just you have to rub it inside the cheek walls and put it in the buccal swab envelope, and please send it back to our office so that your registration process is done. Okay, so I hope you all understand the process, and it's so simple. And I request everyone to register yourself as a potential lifesaver in order to reduce the death rate of the patients who are suffering from blood cancer or any blood related disorders, because finding a HLA matching donor is equal to finding a needle in a haystack. So and also globally Indians are underrepresented, and that's why I request each and every one to register yourself as a potential lifesaver. Okay, so that's all about our presentation. So if there is any question and answer questions available in the chat box, then we are ready to answer any questions. Before that, Rajlakshmi will be explaining to you all about the myths and facts which is prevailing with most of the people. So over to you, Raji.
Thank you, Jyoti. Good evening, everyone. So Jyoti might have explained everything about the procedure of registration, and Dr. Joseph John has clearly explained how the donation takes place and what is blood cancer and everything. In spite of all this, there are many instances wherein people believe in myths because of insufficient knowledge. So one biggest myth that many people believe is PBSC is a surgical process, but that's not true. As we had shown in the cartoon before, PBSC is a non-surgical process and it's a very safe procedure. It's just a 3 to 4 hour procedure. It's like an extended form of blood donation. Then another myth is I can donate only once in my lifetime. Again, that's not true. Since stem cells are replenished in the donor within 2 to 4 days, or the entire process of recovery is 2 to 4 days, you can actually donate multiple number of times. People also sometimes believe that stem cells lost during donation cannot be replenished. As I said, this is not true. The stem cells that you donate are nothing but the extra stem cells that are there in your body. So you actually do not lose anything. You do not lose anything. So, and the recovery period from the process, as I said, is just 2 to 4 days. Smoking and drinking makes me unfit to register. This is also a myth. Though smoking and drinking are not healthy habits, they do not make you unfit for registering. They do not affect your stem cells or your eligibility to register. So these are some of the myths. Okay, so we also follow very strict donor data privacy policy. DKMS BMSD is obliged to follow the WMDA standards, data privacy standards, and also we are obliged to the Indian Information Technology Act and also the General Data Protection Regulation Act. So we only give the unidentifiable donor data, which is important for the donor search on an international registry. So we do not share anything other than what exactly is required for the search. We assure donor data privacy, safety, and confidentiality.
So thank you, Rajlakshmi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you, Jyoti.
Yeah. So, do you any of you have questions? Means please feel free to ask us. Doctor is ready, donor is ready, and I am also ready. So,
So we have
hello.
received two questions as of now
Okay.
on the chat box. The first is,
Okay.
are stem cell therapies being done for any other disorders like CKD or diabetes?
I think this is to Doctor.
Yeah, I'll
Dr.
take the
Joseph, you can
question.
explain.
So, with regard to proven therapies, as per the ICMR guidelines, in terms of therapeutic intervention, stem cell transplant only for hematological disorders is now approved. All the other therapies are experimental. In other words, we are not expected to offer it as a treatment to any other diseases. It has to be coming under a trial. People may be doing that, but that is not the right way to do. It has to be a trial registered with the extensive consent taken, and then only we should.
Sure, doctor. So we have a couple of more questions. So one being the other is there any stem cell treatment for von Willebrand disease, VWD?
Okay, von Willebrand's disease is a bleeding disorder. There is no stem cell treatment as of now proven. The only intervention right now is one we have desmopressin injections or factor 1 Willebrand's or an intermediate purity factor 8 supplementation.
Sure, doctor. So we have few more questions that we had asked participants to ask questions while they were registering for the webinars. So I'm taking few questions from there. So one of the person has asked, how do rare blood disorder patient deal with the COVID situation?
Rare bleeding disorders
Rare
or
blood disorder patient.
Blood disorder.
yeah, so see, look, dealing with COVID essentially is not different from the normal population. That's bottom line. Social distancing, your hand hygiene, personal hygiene, all that is applicable. The only catch is that if the hematological disorder patient gets admitted, one of the terminal events of the COVID patients when they are sick is the blood gets clotted very fast. So we need to watch out for them and probably anticipate a group of patients who are developing or going to develop a clotting mechanism and anticipate that and start blood thinners upfront.
Sure, doctor. So another question that we have, can cancer be cured with stem cell therapy?
Yes, yes, it can. It is not all cancers, but yes, when we offer stem cell transplantation for leukemia and lymphoma rarely, that is the hope. Essentially, when earlier days, when we gave chemotherapy, only a small fraction of the patients probably got cured, and we were not sure about the cure long term. Here is a potential about 40 to 50% of the patient to be cured by doing stem cell transplantation. So essentially, you are going to increase the probability of long-term survival in a leukemia patient from 0 to 40 to 50.
Sure, doctor. Another question we have, symptoms of CMML, how to diagnose it, and what is the treatment for CMML?
Okay, so CMML usually occurs at the age of 60 plus. It can occur at a lower age group or a very juvenile also can be there, but usually it is an elderly age group disease. And diagnosis is based on clinical findings where spleen will be large. It's an organ in the body. And blood will have monocytes, which are more than 1,000 in the peripheral blood. So these are two telltale diagnostic criteria. And of course, you need to do the marrow to confirm all of this. And flow cytometry will be performed. So these are diagnosis bit. Treatment, by and large, the curative treatment is only transplantation, provided the recipient is fit and has no other comorbidities or limited comorbidities where we can take them for a transplant. Otherwise, we are currently giving an injection called azacitidine or decitabine. These are drugs called hypomethylating agents, which can be given as an injection.
Sure, doctor. Sir, another question what we have is multiple myeloma patient had BMT in 2017. Now no medicines. All reports are normal. Any precautions and diet plan advice?
Yeah. So, ma'am, it is important for multiple myeloma patients, depending on the, you need to follow up with the doctors. In principle, multiple myeloma has a high propensity for relapse, especially autologous transplants. So there has to be some sort of medications you can continue to, since you're not on medications and you're doing well, I would not really be keen in continuing something. But right now, the recommendation is to continue on maintenance therapy for lifelong, if possible, if not at least minimum of 2 years. But looking at your situation, you have not been on any medicines for the last 3 years and you're doing well. Keep doing the M protein in every 3 months. And if it is going up, they may need to come in and treat with some oral medicines. Precautions is general precautions. I assume that you are vaccinated after the transplant, and hence the infections are the major issues combating here. Diet, generally, a lot of patients ask, but I'll say whatever you like in moderation. Anything you like in moderation is good for you. There is nothing like, you should not eat this and eat only the aloe vera or having wheatgrass juice. If you enjoy doing that, please go ahead and use it. But whatever God has provided in the market, which is seasonal vegetables, fruits available, have it, taking into consideration the diabetes and the hypertensions as well.
Sir, we have a follow-up question for the blood disorder COVID situation handling. If the person already has a clotting factor deficiency, how will the clotting during the COVID be handled?
So if you have a clotting factor deficiency, how COVID will be handled? In fact, I would say patients who have a bleeding disorder and a clotting factor deficiency may just escape the clotting problem in the COVID situation. However, these are all conjunctural. We do not have a whole lot of hemophilia patients and non-hemophilia patients who have undergone the COVID treatment or having the COVID disease and then follow up. This is conjunctural. You seem to be protective from the bleeding point of view, but the inflammatory perspective, all that will remain the same. It is not that the bleeding will increase. In fact, this is a procoagulant state in more of clotting happening and that causing the problem. So there may be a small protective effect.
Sure, sir. One last question what we have is what are the different types of blood disorders?
Different types of blood disorder.
That's the last question we have. So I kept it
What
for
is
the last.
engineering all about, or what is mechanical engineering all about?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so to summarize, I would say this: bone marrow is a factory to produce red cells, white cells, and platelets. Take home this message, non-medicals. Uh, any abnormality related to red cells, platelets, and WBC is a blood disorder. And of course, some of the proteins which will help in clotting mechanism. If it is less, there will be bleeding. If it is more, there could be thrombosis or clotting. So by and large, I would say red cell, white cell, platelet, and clotting factor disorders. That's in large.
So we received one more question on the chat box. The last one, I think. This is the last one, I think. So actually, my creatine is raising along with increasing of monocytes with spleen enlargement. Is there any particular disorder with these symptoms?
Yeah. So it depends on the age. I do not want. Yeah. So this is like a CMML. If the monocytes are increasing and the spleen size is increasing, and you're on the older age group side, this is most likely age 41. So this is, I would want to evaluate to confirm the diagnosis. I hope your marrow has been done and mutation studies or cytogenetics.
Age is 41, doctor.
Sorry?
Age is 41.
Yeah, I know. I just saw that.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
A little young for a CMML diagnosis, but creatinine rising, monocytes increasing. So there seems to be a diagnostic dilemma among the doctors because marrow done 3 times and age is 41, creatinine is going up, monocytes are increasing, this needs further evaluation and probing in terms of symptoms and other blood tests. So you need to contact your local doctor available, or we have a telemedicine consultation where I can then go through the reports and decide.
Sure. Do we have any more questions to the doctors? Okay. Sir, I think this is it. So we have answered all the questions. So one last question has come to me again. How is the diagnosis done for thalassemia carriers?
So that is a good question, I would say. And in fact, you must do that, considering that 5% of the Indian population are thalassemia carriers. You must do it. A test called HPLC, or HB variant testing. You can go to any laboratory, any major lab or major hospitals would have this. It costs somewhere between 800 to 1200 rupees from varied labs to lab, and that can actually clinch the diagnosis. So go and test that. Get the test before you get married. And if you are positive, please test the same for your potential spouse also. If it is an arranged marriage, try and avoid it if both are carriers. If it is not an arranged marriage and you are in love marriage and both of you happen to be positive, you need to probably do the tests for the baby when the mother is then the wife is pregnant. So that needs some consultation and genetic counseling which is required, but you can ensure that you get a normal baby even in that scenario.
Sure, sir. So what does high lymphocytes indicate?
So lymphocytes are, say, for example, we have Army, Navy, Air Force, right? Each of them has to be in a particular percentage which has to be there. Lymphocytes have a function to attack the enemy at the back stage, back level. But if that goes beyond normal, if one of them goes beyond what it is there, we need to, permissible limit is about 40%, 20 to 40% is general. But that is not etched in gold and saying, if it is 41 or if it is 19, it is bad. You need to take it into consideration of many things. If it is a transient, we leave it alone. If it is persisting, we need to evaluate for various diseases, what we term totally as lymphoproliferative disorders. But I guess if it is persisting, go to the local doctor. Somebody has asked for some medicine. So what can I share the?
Yes, sir. Of course, you can write a chat box. Of course, you can.
So I will put that the telemedicine thing in the
chat box, sir.
Chat box. Just give me 1 minute, and I should be able to access that.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your inputs. Actually, I think everyone would be so satisfied with your answers, and it's too biological and in-depth knowledge. So thank you very much. And I would like to give a few answers for the question. Krishna, I think that won't be a problem because we do have 15 minutes more.
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. So, Rajlakshmi, do you have any questions which is common from the last webinars?
Yeah, Jyoti. So there are some basic questions. Like some of them wonder, how would you ensure the safety of the donors during the stem cell donation?
Okay, stem cell donation or?
During the stem cell donation.
Okay. So actually, for us, we are a donor center. So DKMS BMST is a donor center. So we always take care of the donors' health and safety. Okay. So we before the donation also, that's why we conduct the master health checkup free of cost to the donor, and also whatever the cost is involved. See, suppose if they have to come from their house to our collection center, the to and fro, and also the person who is accompanying the donor, everything will be taken care of by us, and our medical team will be in touch with the donor, okay, and to clarify all their doubts, everything. So we have our donor Suresh also here, so you can also ask him how was his experience, etc. So we always take care of the donor's health and safety. So after donation also, we will be in touch with the donor for 10 years to find out whether they are healthy, and how safe they are, and how healthy they are. Because being a donor center, donors are our priority, because patients are always in control of the doctors, but we take care of the donors. So we will be in touch with the donors always.
Thank you, Jyoti. There's another question. So, during this COVID situation, is it safe to receive a parcel and regarding our registration kits?
Yeah, so absolutely. So as I was explaining to you, as a part of registration, you have to do two things. One, you have to register online, and once you have clicked the register button, we will be sending you the swab kit. So the question is whether during this situation is it safe to receive the parcel? Yes, of course, we are sending this parcel through post. Okay, so according to the research, we have found out that there is nothing. Sorry, this COVID-19 virus will not be stable in a paper or a cardboard. Okay, so there is no relevant this one, right? There is no evidence that this COVID-19 is on the paper. So you can receive the parcel from the postman. But suppose, if even if you think this is not safe, you can sanitize it and keep it aside for 2-3 days, and then also you can do the buccal swabbing. So the buccal swabbing is a safe process, because already the kit is sterile only. So the buccal swab will look like this, and it has sterile butts in it, so it will be always sealed, and you have to open it from the bottom, and you have to do the buccal swabbing by just rubbing inside your cheek walls. So this is inside the swabbing kit, everything will be safe. So, and there is no proven evidence that this COVID is stable in the paper or cardboard. That is the this is according to the research. So please, you can receive the parcel from the postman, and you can do this buccal swabbing and drop it in a post box nearby. By doing this, your registration process is done, and we can receive your sample also for doing this HLA typing. So that's how I think it's completely safe to receive the parcel. So don't worry about that.
Thank you, Jyoti. And then there's another question that many people wonder. What is the duration of the donation process? How much time does it take? And
Yeah, so as I was explaining to you, the donation process is very, very simple. It is same like the platelet donation only, and only the difference is the as this blood donation happens, one needle will be in your one hand, and another needle will be in another hand. So very little amount of blood will be taken out, and it will go to a machine called apheresis, and apheresis will centrifuge it and take only your stem cells, and rest of the blood is routed back to your body through another hand. So it is a very slow process, and it will take just 3 to 4 hours, and it will be done. Okay, so we are not taking your blood, we are taking only the stem cells in your blood, and that's how this process happens. And it is not a surgical process or anything, it's just an outpatient procedure for 3 to 4 hours, and you will be completely all right. Only thing is they will be giving you calcium tablet, and also maybe in order to increase your potassium levels, they will give this tender coconut after the donation. That's all, and it is just 3-4 hours it is done. So I think Suresh can answer well. Suresh, are you here? Oh, I think
If
he's
Suresh
not
is
there.
not saying, I can vouch saying that generally the matched unrelated donor stem cells are treated like kings and queens by the donor registries as
Yes,
compared
of
to the
course.
routine donors. So you don't have to have any apprehension about this thing. It'll be a good experience. You'll be put up in at least a 3-star or a 5-star hotel usually, and you are chauffeured around from the time of the tests and the donation and after that. So you are taken
Yes.
care of much better than, at least 10 times to 20 times better than a routine family donor. So it's a good experience to donate stem cells.
Yeah, of course, doctor. So we also do the same thing because for us, donor is our real hero, and because they are giving a second chance of life to a patient who are suffering from blood cancer. So we always give first priority to our donors. So anyone has any more questions, then we can answer those questions. Otherwise, I think we can wind up.
I, I think
Okay.
so.
There
One we
is
have
no
one
question,
questions
sir.
now. We have one question now, doctor. So,
Okay.
is stem cells present in blood or in bone marrow and liver? Is erythropoietic stem cells are taken?
Hmm. Okay, so the question, if I say, is the what is the presence of stem cells in the blood, the marrow, and in liver cells? Normal blood contains about 0.01% of stem cells always moving around, looking for a place to do his job with regard to, say, he's like an urban clap guy who's walking around and fixing things around when there is a problem. That's 0.01%. Marrow is a seat of all stem cells. Whenever there is a need, it gets pushed out. And with regarding to when you give GCSF, actually we are pushing those stem cells from the marrow to the peripheral blood for it to be collected. What was the second part of the question? I just missed it. Sorry.
So the question,
Erythropoietic stem cells. So
yes,
look, if we won't call it erythropoietic stem cell, you call it erythroblast. So the erythroblasts come after the stem cell. It's a common parent stem cell, and from the parent stem cell comes its children, and that is your erythropoietic cell, the myeloblastic cell, and the megakaryocyte. From there comes the red cell, platelets, and blood. The common is, so when we are replacing the stem cells and nothing else.
sure. One more question we have, sir. Is there any link between allergies and thalassemia?
No, no link between allergy and thalassemia.
Okay. So I think any more. I think we don't have any more questions now, doctor.
Okay.
And thank you so much for time and joining us today for the webinar. Thank you so much, Jyoti, and thank you everyone for taking out time and joining the webinar today with us.
Okay, it was a
If you have
pleasure.
any questions or you want to view the recording of the webinar, please do go to our Facebook page. It's available there. And thank you once again.
Okay.
So you can give my contact number, phone number, etc. for registering. Okay, and also the registration link, Krishna. So
Sure.
I also want to thank each and everyone who have participated, and also our Facebook followers, etc. And special thanks to Dr. Joseph John and our donor because they have taken their valuable time out for our webinar. And I would like to thank my colleague Raj Lakshmi also, who is with me, and also Mr. Krishna, who has helped me in conducting such a successful webinar with most of the Newburgh communities, and also the patients or the people who are really passionate to know more about stem cell awareness or blood cancer patients. So thank you very much for everyone. And if you are interested to register, please log in to our website, and also the link which I have given, www.dkmsbmst.org/register. Okay, so thank you everyone for being part of this webinar.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. It was a pleasure meeting with you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Ma'am, feedback